Hello, everyone. My name is Taylor Arthur, and I'm a marketing intern for the Developer Initiative here at Oracle. Thanks for joining us today at Code Innovate Optimize with Oracle Cloud. We're excited to be able to share with you how you can innovate with us on your next cloud project with self-service analytics, CI and CD improvement, and low-code development to make transformation more than just a buzzword. If you have any questions during the webcast, please ask them in the Q&A area, and we'll answer them live after the presentation. This webcast is being recorded and we'll make it available shortly after the webcast concludes. Today's webcast will be presented by Becky Campelli and Sean Cartwright, cloud engineers. So without further ado, I will turn it over.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Sean Cartwright. I'm a program manager and cloud engineer for the Code Innovate team. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about what Code Innovate is about. Next slide, please. In this picture, you are looking at the children of my manager. Most every year before COVID, he would take his kids on a trip to Legoland, which is in Schaumburg, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. Out of all the attractions at Legoland, their favorite thing to do was to participate in the Master Builder class. During this class, all the kids were given a clear plastic bag of disassembled Lego pieces without any instructions, much like those you would normally find in Lego sets that you would buy in the stores. The people in the front of the room, pictured here in green shirts, are known as true Lego master builders. Over the course of the event, they work with these kids on the concept of brick interlocking and showing them how to create Legos in ways they may have never thought about before. On that particular day, they made a penguin with earmuffs. Next slide, please. In its simplest form, this is what we do here at the Oracle Code Innovate program. We line our Oracle Cloud master builders to help your employees work with our technologies in the cloud to create solutions in ways they may have never thought about before. It is a 4 to 5 half-day online event. This event centers around developing together. Oracle won't be building the solution for you. We will be building it with you. The goal is for our engineers to impart knowledge to your employees in a collaborative approach that demonstrates rapid knowledge transfer. At the end of the week-long event, your builders then present back to your management to show the technical progress they have made and explain the business value that your solution is creating. Next slide, please. Before the event, we host Cadence meetings once a week to discuss the logistics and planning of the event. We provide another service, though, too, known as structured learning sessions. We can do a whole host of things, including but not limited to product demonstrations, giving you hands-on self-guided workshops, and working with you on cloud coaching calls to configure your cloud tenancy before the event. This involves provisioning the services that will be consumed in the use case builds at the event, network configuration, and so on. The goal of the structured learning is to provide a baseline awareness of the products you will be using during the event. Next slide, please. So day one. Day one of the event involves a brainstorming session, or what we refer to as ideation, followed by co-development. Next slide. During the event, we break your teams out into groups of 2 to 4 and pair them with an Oracle engineer. We align the teams based on subject matter expertise and based on what the use case is that they have brought to be worked on at the event. The ideas are collected in a Kanban board style, and the use cases are formed into tasks that are delegated within the teams. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of something like a Kanban board, which we use in private GitHub repositories. We first collect the ideas, then we move them to the in-scope and out-of-scope column based on what the group agrees is manageable to accomplish during the week-long event. Out-of-scope ideas can always be worked on in a subsequent event or after the event via cloud coaching. We then form a goal statement, which is a 2 to 3 sentence high-level summary of what we are trying to accomplish in that use case. Then we divide tasks to each of the engineers on your team, and you can also give tasks to the Oracle engineer to complete along the way. Next slide, please. So after our brainstorming activities are complete, we head straight into co-development. Your builders are driving the process by sharing their screens as they work hands-on in their tenancy. The Oracle Cloud engineers verbally direct or annotate on the screen to show them where to click. In other words, You could say Oracle is a co-pilot giving you the directions, but you are the team behind the wheel. Next slide, please. So at the beginning and end of each day, we do something called a make, break, build check-in. We recap what was accomplished on that day. We outline what we will work on the following day. And if there happens to be any technical or logistical blockers in the way, we work to solve them as quickly as possible for the next day so that we can continue on. Next slide, please. Days 2 through 4 are the meat of the event. This is where our teams will be building together the majority of the session. Next slide. From the outset, the goal of this engagement is to start building out a first pass prototype or a minimally viable product to solving your use cases. We want to help you jumpstart development in the cloud. Next slide, please. So the last day, we have final presentations, what are known as lightning talks. Next slide, please. The Oracle team will walk your team through a 3-slide template that they build out for the final presentation. These slides include an introduction slide with the team name. The second slide involves what the goal statement was, noting the value this solution creates for your business, and a section to expand on what the next steps would be if the builders had more time to work on the project. Then they present the final slide is a wireframe mockup, or what we refer to as a notional architecture diagram of the various services being used in the different solutions that your team is building out. They then present these slides back to the management on what they were able to build during the week. At the end, we allow time for comments and feedback during what's known as like a recognition ceremony to highlight the achievements of the team. Next slide. Oh, sorry. So the requirements for the event are as follows. 4 more developers or builders at the event. We use the term developers kind of loosely. They can also be business users. Basically, anyone who wants to build in the cloud is welcome. We ask for 16 to 20 hours of a time commitment, which roughly translates to 4 or 5 half days. We ask that you bring your own use cases. We want to work on things that you actually want to work on. We ask for 3 weeks of lead time, and that ensures that we get the correct resourcing for Oracle as well as for yourselves. We have formal Cadence meetings, like I mentioned earlier, typically once a week for 30 minutes leading up to the event. We discuss use case discovery and logistics and so on. We'll send out an official email invitation the week before the event to ensure that everyone has a calendar invite so that they can attend. And last but not least, there's no cost to do this event beyond the time commitment for both of our teams. Next slide, please. So here's a visual representation of the 5-day event that I kind of walked you through in my presentation. Day 1 starts out with introductions, icebreakers, ideation, followed by co-development. Co-development extends through the bulk of each day during the week, which culminates in the final day lightning talk presentations and the recognition ceremony. So thank you for your time. I'm going to hand it over now to my colleague, Becky, who will walk you through some of the real use cases that we have built out with our other customers.
Thank you so much, Sean. Before we transition into the next portion of this presentation, I just want to pass by all of you a quick poll. Given Code Innovate is a free event, would you be interested in engaging with us in Code Innovate? There's a couple options here. You'll see a poll pop up. Let's move on to the next portion of this presentation. So welcome everybody to Optimizing with Oracle Cloud. Just want to tie this back to the title of the event. We'll be sharing some stories of virtual Code Innovate that we have conducted with other customers like yourselves. I am Becky Campelli, a cloud engineer here at Oracle on the same team as Sean, running this program called Code Innovate, the Developer Innovation Initiative. And it's a pleasure to present to you today. In the last year alone, we've put on over 50 Code Innovate events with teams just like yours, whether from IT or finance or HR or development. We've gotten to develop something new in the cloud together. And just I want to present a huge thank you to all of you who use or even are interested in Oracle Cloud technology. You're very important to us, and we couldn't do what we do in cloud today without you. So jumping in, just a little intro. I want to take us back to March 2020. I know maybe this is a bad flashback for some, but it was a crazy month for all of us, from working from home. In particular, you can see a picture of my desk that I'm sharing on the screen here. I came home to a desk with just a laptop, notebook, and obviously some decorations in the corner there. But over time, the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I was like starting to get back pains and neck pains from staring down at my computer screen, and eating up my desk. Brought dishes and scratches onto my wooden desk, and I said, something has got to change here. So I noted a couple optimizations I could make and came up with this situation you see on the right-hand side. Obviously, I've cleaned my desk. My desk does not look like this every day, but you can see I've added a monitor, which increases productivity by a lot. And I've added this little pad for protecting the desk, as well as a lamp for illuminating my face on Zoom, which you get to benefit from all three of these today because it makes me a happy worker and more efficient. So how can you optimize with Oracle Cloud like I've done with my desk over COVID? I want to point out that optimizing makes the best of what you have available to you, especially available offerings in Oracle Cloud, and you can use your current resources effectively to hopefully make your work easier, your job faster and simpler, and reduce any complexity on your day-to-day. This might look like automating your business processes, discovering new data insights, or securing data for the proper audiences. So I want to take you today through 3 stories of what customers have been able to do with us in a Code Innovate. This is by no means all of the things, but just a couple spotlights kind of highlighted with these previews on the right here. So without further ado, I just want to jump in. So this first story we have to bring to you is about a human error-prone process that turned into an enterprise promoted application. This is sometimes people are curious about the industry here, and this is a media and entertainment industry story. And the situation starts off like this. This customer, Angela, holds employee merit information in Excel spreadsheets that she downloads from a share drive. And if she wants to grant a employee a bonus or a raise, she has to download this Excel and see, what quota can she give. And she'll update the data and upload it back. And the versioning was quite manual. And so they said they were facing a challenge while they were working from home. Tracking these raises and merits was introducing some human error into the process. And when Angela accessed the spreadsheet to see what raise she could give John, she saw that his salary had been listed lower than she knew it to be in the past. And now she has to go check with HR, verify what are the numbers that are really the case with this employee, and try to avoid an awkward conversation of either having to correct the salary information or something like that. So we were able to work with this team to centralize this data into an application using Oracle Application Express, an app builder that's low code. And she and her colleague joined us for this event in a similar style as to what you're seeing on the screen here. We use Zoom and screen share, as Sean mentioned. And now they don't have to worry about these same versioning issues with their data. They can track changes for each of the users and version in that way. So just a quick conceptual look at how this build worked. For the customer, you can see, I'll bring your attention to the top right of the screen first. This is the Apex application. You can see a form that pops up when the user of the application is editing a line of data. And this same Apex application is reflected in this architecture here on the bottom. It takes data from an autonomous transaction processing database, which is hosted on Oracle Cloud, and uses data from human capital management. It then presents that data out to local managers, regional managers, and HR employees in different capacities through single sign-on. So you can see from a single source of truth, these different users can gain the information necessary and edit securely and view just the data that they need. So we were able to create this application during one 20-hour Code Innovate. And the upside is that they get to have this security on their data, but they came back saying, we're releasing this application in the new year and we have some modifications to make. We did some user testing. We'd like to do another event. So we jumped into that with them, a Code Innovate number 2. And you can see here that there's an added process of integrating in some job title names through an integration process with Oracle Integration Cloud. You can see on the top right-hand side here, a mapping of the source data into the target destination, which is the autonomous transaction processing. That's really easy for me to say, isn't it? This ATP database. In addition, they were able to create a page on the Apex application that shows analytics of the data. How much of a quota do I have to be able to grant to the employees under me in the organization? And that can get emailed out through email delivery to these different audiences without them even having to log in or download any kind of spreadsheet. So this, along with some front-end usability updates, was the benefit of Code Innovate number 2. So here's what you can do with Code Innovate. You can take a business process that might be error-prone and automate it with any of the tools given in Oracle Cloud. The central one here is Oracle Application Express, which we've talked about in this case, but you can also automate paper processes with Process Cloud Service and automate your infrastructure tasks with Oracle functions, even in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So this is our first use case that we want to present, and I hope that it might be relatable to some of you. Try to be thinking of any processes that might have hiccups or error-prone processes in them. Our second use case deals with stagnant data to spatial discovery. This is in the telecommunications industry. And basically the case that we had here, jumping in, is there was some data that this telecom company was taking in through some sensors for offender monitoring. They had this tracking data flowing into their data center, but had no insights whatsoever as to what the locations meant, and the data was sitting there without being used. And so they got to thinking, maybe we could use this data in a project and start tracking some of this information and trends about where the offenders have been and help make our communities a better place. And so they took this data from on-premises, dusted it off, and brought it into Oracle Cloud, into the autonomous data warehouse, and began to analyze the geographic paths of offenders, places they frequented, and maybe their contact with others. And during this Code Innovate, our team led them through the process of importing data into Oracle Autonomous Database and how to visualize the spatial data using Spatial Studio. And then they can use these insights to report back to any authorities they might be collaborating with. The notional architecture here starts with IoT devices, any kind of IoT devices, whether you are, tracking people in a case like this, offenders, or tracking bots in a warehouse or storage supply in a hospital. anything like this where the data is sitting at some kind of endpoint can be brought into Oracle Autonomous Database and take advantage of Oracle Spatial Studio. Those findings can then be served out through Apex applications to different groups that can consume the data, whether it be the authorities or IT workers on this same application that need to see how it is presenting, or even the C-suite of the company that's making this contribution. So they get to serve this analysis out to an audience and make this data and these insights more available to more people. The optimization here is stagnant data to spatial discovery. And there are many tools to enable data discovery. I promise you there is some data sitting around in the corner somewhere that is ready to be dusted off for some spatial analysis, predictive analytics, or other exposure or discovery. And we've all heard the phrase, those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And this applies to data. Data is a prime resource for discovering crucial insights. And we invite you to look at how you can use Oracle Machine Learning in the database, Oracle Spatial Studio, or even ad hoc analysis with Oracle Analytics Cloud to start getting data insights today. Oracle Code Innovate is a great way to feel out these technologies and see if these are going to work for your solutions long term. We've had POC-like situations where we work on projects to just prove out a process. And if you are just on the edge of considering something like this, we're happy to work with you through that. All right, use case number 3 I wanted to present to you today is heavy apps to high agility. This is information technology industry story. And basic situation here is this customer was looking to migrate a bunch of their applications into the cloud, 17 to be exact. And on this journey into the cloud, they figured, maybe we should make some optimizations to some of these applications. They could be containerized using Docker and Kubernetes as we make this transition onto cloud infrastructure that's going to save a bit of cost for us. So this process of having these apps on premises was burdensome. They were working with 5 different operating system licenses, and the maintenance of these different environments was really bogging down engineers' time. And so to remove some of that burden of cost and the just really the time sink of maintaining these systems, I said, why don't we improve some things in the cloud? So this they decided to move one product management application, which is Java-based, and kind of get down the process of how to containerize this application so that they can clear the way for the rest of the applications. So the customer team took advantage of Code Innovate, and we were able to work with them to teach them how to lift the VM-based applications into OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and know where Oracle Kubernetes and OCI registry can be applied. And now they're equipped to move even more apps into the cloud and containerize 6 more. So they had 7 apps they wanted to containerize, and the way is paved. And we collaborated with 3 groups of people: network engineers, infrastructure and database engineers, as well as the app developer who works in Java, to containerize this application, impart transferable skills in these cloud native services, and give them the skills that they would need to migrate the rest of these applications. So a little bit different of an architecture this time. I just want to bring your attention to the Visual Builder Studio on the top left here, which is where some Kubernetes code can be maintained and deployed through the container registry through a CI/CD pipeline into 2 environments, which our team set up with this team, a production and a non-production environment. Really, this lends itself to a scalable and flexible architecture for ease of hosting and scaling applications. You can see the application works with the MySQL database as it did on premises, but now the release of this application through the CI/CD pipeline and back to the product managers is simpler than it has been in the past. So we see here that this optimization is moving from heavy apps to high agility, and there are plenty of tools in Oracle Cloud for the cloud native development and be agile on the Oracle Cloud infrastructure scenario. There's a really good workshop provided by the Oracle A team on microservices called MuShop. I encourage you to look it up on Google. And there's plenty of services from computing to network to storage to databases offered in the cloud, as well as Terraform to automate any of these processes that may be bogging you down in the operations side of things. So having been through all three of these stories and use cases, I just want to pop another poll. Which of these stories resonates with you the most given your business situation? Story one, this automation of some notifications and processes. Story two, the use of stagnant data. And story three, migration of applications to cloud using cloud native services. All right. So having been through a couple of these use cases and seeing how other customers have been able to leverage Code Innovate, I just wanted to present another list which kind of expands on this. You've only seen 3 situations here through these use cases I presented, but we'd love to invite you to Code Innovate with us. As you may know, Oracle Cloud has a lot to offer, and I've kind of grouped some of these topics here that you could explore with us into kind of patches of color to hopefully make it more manageable to look at. But everything from analytics, whether it's pixel perfect to predictive analytics, are some of our analytics offerings. There's a lot in the integration space of bringing data from point A to point B and automating those processes. Some cool things for extending applications that we've looked at are low-code applications and chatbots, and machine learning has been a big request as well through time. We've worked on plenty of cloud native use cases as well as process automation, and there's a lot to offer on the infrastructure side. I think that's more the yellow labeling here is infrastructure related and operations related tasks. So you can see our email on the bottom of this screen. I encourage you to take a screenshot of this if you are thinking of contacting us, and just email us with the solution or technology of interest that you would like to work with, and we can start rolling this conversation. Another kind of overview of the services at your disposal on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. You can do anything from cloud native applications to extending Oracle Cloud applications or any other applications for that matter, and using platform services as well. That's our data science, analytics, non-relational databases, JSON database, and things like that. Low-code app building is a big one, and operations automation as well. So this is kind of our concluding slide. It would be quite a pleasure to work with you and your team. And this is our email address again. And feel free to email us with your innovation or technology of interest, and we can reply ASAP. You may also contact your cloud platform representative if you have a good working relationship there, and they'll get in contact with us on their end. So there are many ways that you can engage with us.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky.
Sure thing.
Alrighty, so we'll move on to the closing slide. Okay, since there are no more questions, if you enjoyed today's session, you can also sign up for next month's Oracle Cloud Coaching session on blockchain. You'll learn how App Builder accelerates the use of FTs and NFTs in a broad range of use cases. Here are also links to other developer events, your free trial again, and we'd love to hear any feedback that you might have for us. And feel free again to reach out to codeinnovate_US_GRP@oracle.com with any additional questions, comments, or concerns. And I'll just put those links that I stated on the slide in the chat now. Alrighty, I'd like to thank Becky and Sean again for this wonderful presentation, and thank you all for spending your time with us. We'll make today's recording available on the session page and also send the link out in an email. Right now, we'll go ahead and end the session, but we hope that all of you have a great day, and we hope to see you again next time. Thank you so much.